Priority number 4, baptism of the Holy Spirit. My spirit monitors the whole earth at one time. The Spirit monitors the whole earth and picks up the signals from everywhere, and He cares. The Spirit not only monitors, but He sends out the orders to my angels to scatter enemy forces. One of the highest purposes I had of sending my Spirit was so that your lives could be molded and made like Jesus. I want the fruit of my Spirit, my love, my joy, my peace, my gentleness, my long-suffering, and the very characteristics of Jesus to be seen by the world in you. When you yield to my Spirit and allow me to form my nature in you, then the world gets to see you just like I already see you. The unity that I am bringing today is not a unity of intellect. The unity that I am creating in bringing my great body together in answer to Jesus' prayer that you all might be one is a unity of my spirit. The greatest need in the whole world is love. I give you my Spirit, which is the Spirit of love, and I want them to see Jesus' love in you. I'm giving you the Spirit of Jesus to make you like Him. My Spirit is taking Jesus and glorifying Him in you. When you sense that surge of divine life that's brought to you by the power of my Spirit, Jesus is being glorified within you. His life is being transmitted to you. That's the life of Jesus. My highest goal for you is that you become like Jesus. When people see you, they will know that I am alive because my nature is beaming out from you. My life is within you. My Holy Spirit is a key in forming and embodying the likeness of Jesus within you. He's within you, He's around you, and He's close to you. My ways are past finding out, and I reserve the right to do anything I want to do that is consistent with my nature. I will not be bound by your interpretations of my word. I have another law where I said, when people are hurting, I'm going to help them. I have promised to pour out of my Spirit upon all flesh. Luke 24:49 said, Behold, I send the promise of my Father upon you. Those who are dead shall hear my voice. This is talking about people who are walking around but have their ears closed. There are people who are totally unresponsive to my word. There's coming a time when those dead people, I'm going to get my loudspeaker system right up to their ears, and I'm going to jar those people. Those dead people are going to hear not your voice, but my voice. And those who will listen shall live too. I am bound to keep my nature, and my nature is to minister to people. I have the unfailing ability to always do which is right. John 16:7-15. My Holy Spirit will make Jesus real to you and cause my word to be real to you. He will make heaven real to you. My Spirit not only makes you forget about something that may be hurting you, He not only relieves you, but the Spirit searches out those deep things that you may not even know about. Things that are hurting you. And He lays them out before me, and then as you've prayed in the Spirit, you feel just like you've been filled with my love and power. My Spirit doesn't make that kind of a mistake. You can only pray and talk to me when you are searching your own needs out by the way they look to you. But the Spirit who knows the deep things searches out those things that are really important, where the real needs are. And then as you give me your faculties and my Spirit the control of your faculties, the Spirit then taking your lips and your tongue, your voice, and as you pray regardless of what those sounds are, the Spirit rearranges those sounds, and they come up to my ears, and there is a beautiful prayer reaching down to where the needs really are. And while He's doing that, you're just ventilated, lifted, and the surge of my life is going through you. You may be healed. I can give you the direction to go that you need because He will guide you into all truth. There are 2 reasons for the purpose of sending my Spirit. When Jesus promised the power, the first place was power to be like Jesus. You couldn't be like Jesus if you didn't have the Spirit of Jesus. I need people in this world who are like Jesus, and the only way they are going to be like Jesus and let the whole world know what Jesus is really like is to have the Spirit of Jesus within them. And so my Spirit gives you power to be like Jesus. The fruit of the Spirit, the character, the nature that the Spirit builds within you is love, joy, peace, gentleness. All of those traits of Jesus are the things the Spirit develops in you. I want the world to be able to say, Jesus is still alive. There He goes, walking around in those people's shoes. I want everyone to have a representation of Jesus that brings me glory. That's the reason for the power of the Spirit. Then, the second reason for the gift of my Spirit is power to do, power to accomplish. I not only want you to be like Jesus, but you will receive power to do the things that I did, and greater works than these will you do. I want you to be like Jesus first, and then power to do. I would rather have you yield yourself to me and not be bound by the traditions of man. When you hear from me, always open your heart to see whether I want to tell you something. I have allowed you to participate in the greatest awakening this world has ever seen. And it's the awakening that's going to climax in a sound of a trumpet from heaven. As I reach down and pull people from every nation, tribe, and tongue and denomination, I know those that are mine. Pray that Jesus would be formed in you, and that the beauty of Jesus might be seen in you. When I founded my church, it was like a beautiful pool of men and women living and bathing in the love and light that I provided. But as people moved away from the center and each went his own way towards his own likings, they went into their own pastures, and this pool is like a watering hole with fences running out like spokes away from it. And as a result, each pasture is labeled now with what they happen to be. But today, by the power of my Spirit and by my heavenly hosts, we are moving the sheep back to the pool where there are no fences. I want you to have an awareness and a recognition of what my Spirit is doing in the earth today. It is normal for every believer to experience the capabilities, gifts, and the ministries of my Holy Spirit. 1 Thessalonians 5. This chapter has some last-day guidelines for your life. Those of you who are willing to put their faith in what I have done will never face the day of my Father's wrath that is coming. I have not appointed you to wrath, but to obtain salvation by me, who died for you, that whether you wake or sleep, you should live together with me. Comfort yourself together and edify one another even as you do. You can comfort one another because Paul is talking about my return. One of the purposes of the coming of my Spirit was to be your comforter and someone who would stand alongside by you and build each other up in view of the fact I am coming. Quench not my Spirit. Don't deny my Spirit a place in your life. Don't stop me from doing the thing that I want to do for you. Let my Spirit warm your heart. Let him fill you. Let him empower you. Let him cause his fruit to come forth in your life. Each of the 7 feasts I asked Israel to observe referred to and symbolized 7 of my highest priorities that I have. One of my highest priorities is to fill you with my Holy Spirit. One of the feasts that I asked Israel to observe now was called the Feast of Pentecost. It followed 50 days after the Feast of Passover. The Feast of Passover was symbolized by the separate stalks of wheat that were being waved before me, symbolizing the individual lives of the believers before Pentecost. But I said, I'm going to turn these individual Christians into a solid body, into a church, my body of believers. So the day of Pentecost, 50 days later, instead of the single stalks of wheat, the wheat was ground into flour, and it was kneaded and made into loaves. Now on that day, the feast was called the Feast of Pentecost, where the individual believers were all blended into one. They were all with one accord. They were all blended together. All of those individual disciples, where each of them were going their own way, now they were all blended together. My body. The coming of the Holy Spirit was not just to give you a good time. There were 2 purposes that I had in mind. The first purpose was to give you power to be like Jesus. I want you like Jesus. I see you like Jesus, but I want the world to see you like Jesus. And if you're going to look like him, you must have his nature, his Spirit. So I want you to have the Spirit of Jesus in you. And so, on that day of Pentecost, when the Spirit was outpoured, it was not the dynamic things that they were doing that stirred up Jerusalem. I decided I was going to give this nature, this same Spirit that motivated and made Jesus what he was, to give that same Spirit to all of the people that would follow him. I want to produce my own likeness in you by my Spirit. Unless you have the Spirit of Jesus, you will not be like Jesus. The second purpose was giving you power to do like Jesus, and that is power to help you accomplish the things that Jesus accomplished, in alleviating the hurts, the cares, and the needs of people. I want you to move out to where people have needs and care and alleviate them by the power of my Spirit. You can never do like Jesus until you recognize the power to be. That's called the fruit of the Spirit, the likeness of Jesus in your life. Go out with that Spirit of Jesus. Let the world see Jesus in you. What the world needs is Jesus, just a glimpse of him. The world needs Jesus more than food, more than clothing, more than peace, more than anything, because he becomes to them all that they need. I told Moses, take a vessel of oil and dip your finger into that vessel and put just a little tiny bit on the ear and the thumb and the toe. This indicated the person's service, walk, thinking, mind, and senses. I don't want people putting more emphasis on the walk than the spiritual life. I then told Moses, I want to show you the emphasis that I put on the abundance, the joy, the overflowing, and the excitement. I told him to take the rest of that oil and pour it out completely on the top of his head, to the point it would run down his beard and down upon his clothes. There's more of the Holy Spirit for the abundant life than there is for all of these other things put together. And this abundant life is available when my blood is applied. I cleanse a person when they recognize the power of my blood, and then I open the door of heaven and make salvation available to you when your faith is in that blood. My blood makes the power of my Holy Spirit available to you.